Welcome to another edition of Nutmeg Chatter Presents The Claw's Corner. My guest today started her career as a crime journalist before becoming a very successful relationship coach. Please welcome to the show the love doctor herself, Karenna Alexander. Karenna, welcome to the show.
Hi there. What a welcome.
Thank you. So glad to have you on here. I saw you at Second Act, which is part of the Palace Theater in Waterbury series, where they have interesting people talk about their life. And I saw you last week. I thought you were great, and I wanted to have you on the show. So let's start at the very beginning. Mm-hmm. You began as a journalist, and where did you get your start?
I got my start at the University of Connecticut. That's where I majored in journalism, and I started working at the school paper, and the rest is really history.
Well, you worked your way up, or some might say down, as a crime journalist.
It can be dark, and yes, it's not everyone's cup of tea, but I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. What interested me in crime journalism?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a really good question. I started off as a town reporter, and as a lot of time, position opened at the Hearst newspapers in Fairfield County, and I just grabbed it. I was always a true crime buff anyway, and I still am. I love watching crime movies, detective whodunits. There's a lot of good British detective stories. So I was always really into it.
Yeah, I find that very interesting. Mm-hmm. I love the true crime. I think there's a channel that deals exclusively with true crime. I can't remember the name of it right now, but I watch it and it talks about, like, you know, this is what happened. They do it through recreations, and it's a great show. And I'm not sure if you're a big fan of that station or else, but if you don't have it, I'm going to get it to you before the end of the show.
Okay.
But you must have worked on some interesting cases. What was your biggest case?
Yeah, so the biggest case, well, there were a lot of big ones, but I have to say the biggest in terms of attention was probably, because it drew international attention, was the Michael Skakel trial.
That name sounds familiar.
Yeah, so Michael Skakel is related to the Kennedys, America's royalty.
Yes.
His father was the brother of Ethel Kennedy. Mm-hmm. She was Ethel Skakel Kennedy. She was married to Bobby Kennedy, the one who was assassinated.
Yes.
Anyhow, so Michael Skakel grew up in Greenwich, very privileged background. He had a lot of brothers, but his dad was very rich, and they lived in a beautiful gated community. But when he was a teenager, he allegedly killed his really pretty neighbor, Martha Moxley. And the thing is, he didn't get convicted
of course,
initially. Like, it just, a lot of people think the family's money kept him from getting arrested.
He was the original OJ
as a teenager. Yeah. Yeah, but eventually he did go to prison 38 decades later. And that's
decades later.
Yeah, decades later. And that's the trial that I covered, when the state got new evidence. And they tried him again. They tried him as an adult, which was interesting.
So what was it, DNA that finally got him?
They had reports from people that didn't speak out way back when, that started speaking out. More.
Finally, they came forward years later and said, "Oh yeah, no, I know he did it." Mm-hmm. Is he still in jail now?
No, he's out.
So he's out for murder. So how many years did he spend in there?
But I believe, I don't remember now. After he went to prison, I moved on. I became an editor, and I moved on to my second act, which I know we're going to talk about. But he spent a while, years, and I believe. And I think there may even be a chance that they're going to retry him. I think he's out on some kind of an appeal right now.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Keep up to date on that one.
Yeah.
So growing up, did you have one journalist that you watched that made you say, I want to work in that field?
No.
Really?
Actually, that's a really good question, because I didn't think I really wanted to be a journalist until I went to the University of Connecticut and was confused, like a lot of people are. Yeah. And I think I did major in communications at first, because that's what a lot of people do when they're confused. For some reason, that's just like an easy major, and a lot of people just do it until they figure it out. But then one of the relateds was journalism. It sort of kind of fell into it that way. I took a journalism class, really liked it. started working at the school newspaper as a proofreader, I really liked the atmosphere at the paper. It was just my kind of people, like cynical, funny, smart, intellectual. But growing up, Barbara Walters was our role model, sort of. But I didn't think I wanted to be her. I just thought she was interesting.
Yeah. For me, growing up, my favorite journalist was Mike Wallace.
Oh,
60 Minutes.
I
love his aggressiveness, and I love how he goes for the story. And he's always fighting for the little guy, and he's always seeking out the truth. I always respected that, and I just loved the stories that he had on 60 Minutes. And so, growing up, I never really wanted to be a journalist. I did, become interested in the media later in life, but he would be the journalist that I always look at and say, he's probably my favorite. I mean, obviously Walter Cronkite, Mr. Honesty, the most trusted man in America. Everybody loved him. Barbara Walters, the first woman to become a news anchor. They were great, but for me, it was Mike Wallace.
Yeah, you're right. He was great. He was hard hitting. A lot of those 60 Minutes guys were very hard hitting. I really respect the hard hitting ones because that's not easy journalism to do.
No,
and not all the famous journalists who are making a ton of money in journalism are really hard hitting. I have to say, I think there's a lot of. I don't mean to be critical, but there's a lot of people. They're just personalities, and they're not good investigative journalists. That's kind of a rare thing, and.
I think a lot of the anchors now want to be the stars themselves.
Exactly.
They don't have the story become the main feature.
Right.
They're the main feature, and I hate that.
Right.
It's not all about them. It's all about the story you're covering.
Yes. And a lot of times I'll watch these big gets that they get, and some of them really do get a lot of hard hitting investigative stuff, but some.
Yeah, like TMZ. I'll mention that.
Yeah.
That is not journalism to me.
Right.
That's just tabloid.
They get an interview with the Duchess, say, okay, but
exactly.
What are they? How is that investigative? A lot of times it's to put their agenda, put the celebrity's agenda.
Yeah, put them to the forefront,
and that's
make them the story.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree with you 100%.
I admire hard-hitting investigative journalism, and unfortunately, in this day and age, and this is part of my story, and part of why I got out of the career, it's not what it used to be, unfortunately. It's going through some struggles right now, journalism.
I think the big thing is back then, say in the 70s, 80s, even part of the 90s, there was 3 networks, ABC, NBC, CBS. Now you have 100 stations, and you have to fill 24 hours. So everybody's looking for ratings. They really don't care about the content. So they're just either making things up or just embellishing to get to say, I'm going to click on this first. I'm going to watch this station because I want to see what they're going to say. So I don't think it's really about the news. It's more about keeping the viewer.
Yeah, unfortunately, I feel like that's true. And even as I was nearing the end of my full-time journalism career, I started getting the feeling from the companies I was working for that we had to worry about money as journalists. And when I started out in my 20s, right after UConn,
yeah,
I never had that feeling that we were under any money pressure. As a journalist, you feel like you're very impartial, but now I feel like there is that worry.
Yeah, unfortunately, hopefully it can make a comeback, but it's not. I don't see a comeback anytime in the near future. Well, we're going to take a break. Nutmeg Chatter Presents The Claw's Corner will return with relationship coach and crime journalist Karenna Alexander right after this. Nutmeg Chatter Presents The Claw's Corner is back. I am speaking with relationship coach and crime journalist Karenna Alexander. Karenna, thanks for sticking around. Glad to have you on the show.
Glad to be here.
All right, so now we're going to move on to what you do now. How and why did you make the move from crime journalist to relationship coach?
That's a great question. And for me, it started out with a problem. I have to say, that's how a lot of people, I think, make their come about their second acts or their side businesses, or their passion. When they find their passion through their problem. A lot of times, people's passion comes about because of a problem.
Yeah. Well, there's a great quote
Trying to
from
think
Wayne
of that
Gretzky,
quote.
but also Michael Jordan.
Yes.
It's like I've failed hundreds and hundreds of times, and that's why I succeed. That's Michael Jordan. But Wayne Gretzky was it the one goal that you never made is the one you never took.
Exactly. I love those quotes. I use them in my coaching too with women. I mainly coach women, and I love those quotes because sometimes that's what dating is like. But the quote I was thinking of was, "Your deepest pain is your greatest passion."
Like
and I don't know who said that, but it kind of was like that for me. Like I had a dating problem, and because yes, and when I went to UConn for journalism, and when I went to Columbia for my master's in journalism, I had no idea there was even this career out there as a dating coach. And if you had told me I'd become a dating coach, I'd be like, "What, are you crazy?" Like that just seems so weird to me. It seemed kind of, to tell you the truth, it would have seemed like a flighty career.
Yeah. And
non-serious, non-professional. But now I really get it, and I really take it seriously, and I see it as a professional career. So for me, it did start as with a problem.
Well, the funny thing is that maybe when I was growing up, there's only 3 people I could think of that maybe gave advice. One was Dr. Ruth, and there was Dear Abby and her sister, Dear Ann Landers. Other than that, it really wasn't a big thing. I never heard the term relationship coach back when I was growing up in the 70s, 80s, and even 90s. But I think now it's a huge thing, probably because of online dating, which we're going to get into later. But when you first started, what year was this? That's
a really good point. Okay, 2002 was when around 2002 was when I had this problem. I had the problem for years before that. Essentially just wasn't able to find a great connection with a guy. I was always finding the wrong guy, dating like unavailable men, just in getting hurt. And I couldn't figure out what was going on. Like I just couldn't get that connection right. And I read this book that really transformed my life, and I called the authors, and they trained me to they helped me out with my problem.
Really?
And they trained me to be a coach. And then my whole life changed. They had a lot of principles that were just life-changing for me. And that's when I started helping other people. And that was around 2002. And that's when coaching, you're right, coaching wasn't a big thing in the 80s.
No.
Therapy was something people did. You know, they'd go to a therapist, but they wouldn't call a life coach, and because partly the career wasn't as big. Now in 2020, and it's a big thing.
Well, I think
coaching, life
coaching. For the most part, most people want to find love. Most people want to find somebody they can spend the rest of their life. I mean, there are people that maybe love being alone. So you're never going to go out of business. I mean, there's always going to be somebody that has a question and say, "Can you help me? I'm depressed. I really need your help." And so I think this is a perfect career for you and other people that want to help people, and it's never going away because it's something that's relatable to everybody. Maybe they were in love in the past and they're looking for love now, or it's happened to them before and they want some advice. So I think that you're doing a great thing.
Thank you. Yeah, exactly. I agree. I think it's a great career, and it's not flighty like some people might think.
Yeah.
It's not. It's serious. It really does help people, and my focus is with women, and I do have male clients, but I focus a lot on women because a lot of women come to me. They've been hurt before, and they need boundaries, and they need help with self-esteem, and dating strategy, and all kinds of other stuff. Makeovers.
Do you think it's more women because men are more afraid to talk about their feelings?
Yeah.
That's the main reason?
Yes, I do. Because I think a lot of times one-on-one when I'll talk to a man, he'll say, "Wow, men need help, but we just don't like to ask for help or talk about it." They're very different. And that's part of what I help women understand too, because I think that's part of the reason why men and women are having difficulties sometimes in relationships. They don't understand each other.
Well, what is the number one misconception that men have about women?
Oh, wow, that's a good question. I think everyone's different. I hear a lot of different things. Some men think all women care about are superficial things. I hear that, like all men care about their pocketbook. All men say all they care about are my pocketbook. And that's true. There are some women that are like that. But not all women are like that.
Yeah, I mean, there's good and bad in everything.
Exactly.
There probably are some women that just care about the money. There's other women that really want to be in love and find somebody who they can spend the rest of their lives with. Every person is different. Just because that one didn't work out, this one, start fresh and with a clean slate.
Exactly. And some women say about men, all men are jerks, all men want one thing, men don't want commitment. And I find that's not necessarily 100% true. Men, I think, do want commitment, but they want it with someone who's not going to suffocate them or be too clingy. And I think sometimes women are to blame sometimes for why men are jerks. So I try to help women in that sense, teach them how to be better versions of themselves so they don't repel a man. Because it's easy to do if you don't understand men.
Yeah. Well, I think that, you spoke about this before, that men are more visual. Mm-hmm. So men want somebody that, but I think personally you have to be attracted to somebody initially. But for me, has to be a lot deeper. Mm-hmm. I could have a supermodel that has nothing in common with me. We don't talk. So, what's the fun in that? But somebody who's maybe attractive, but not as attractive as a supermodel, but we travel together, we have a lot of the same interests. I would rather be with somebody like that than maybe the most gorgeous woman in the world. Right,
because I feel like a lot of it, too, is that spark you feel when you're around that person. You may be with a gorgeous model and you're attracted to her, but you may not feel a spark with her.
Yeah.
I feel like when you're with that special person, there's this spark.
Well, I could tell you personally what women say they like most about me when I start dating them is confidence.
Yep.
They're like, you know what I like about you is you are so confident, you know exactly what you want, and they like the fact that I take charge. I've had women that have gone out would say, you know what, I'm so sick of making plans. I just want somebody to do that for me. It's like, I love making plans. I love doing things. There's always something to do. And in my history, those are the two attributes that women find most attractive about me. Our confidence and the fact that I take charge.
Yes, if there are any men listening to this, I would totally agree with that. I think those are two huge things. I think confidence is huge. And I think a lot of times when I coach men, like I said, mostly women come to me for coaching, but I do have some male clients for coaching. And that's the biggest thing. It's confidence. It's true. Women are turned on by confident men. And I agree with the guy making plans. So I teach courtship strategies, and I very much believe men and women are different, and women should hold out for courtship. And a big part of courtship is the guy taking the lead, taking charge.
Okay, so you still think the guy should be the one who says, will you go out with me, instead of the woman being the first one?
I totally do. And this is something that, this is kind of why I started. This when I had that whole epiphany when I read that book I was telling you about, and I got trained as a coach. When I was struggling with my relationships, I didn't really get what was going on. But a big part of what I learned, and why I now teach it to others, is I learned that men and women are, even though we're the same in a lot of ways, even though we deserve equal pay for equal work, we're different romantically. And that's what I think too many women don't get yet. Don't get still. And I didn't get it either when I was in my 20s. I was really struggling, and I think that's a big reason why.
Now, do you think that the Me Too movement is making it harder for guys to make the first move?
Yeah, so that threw a little bit of a wrinkle into everything. But I still think that, and I still have clients every day who are getting asked out by men and who are adopting these courtship strategies, and it is working. The thing I would say with Me Too, I think men do have to be careful, especially in a work environment.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So I don't want men to get in trouble. So be careful. Find out what your work policy is, and if
it's a very fine line to tread.
You got to be careful at work for sure. And in real life, asking a woman out respectfully is not harassment. It's harassment if you ask her out
She says no.
She says no, and you keep trying and trying and trying and trying. And, you know, she may say no, sorry, I have plans. In which case, you could try. You could ask her out again. But if she's ignores
she says
you,
no, I'm not interested.
Right.
Okay, then it's time to move on.
Exactly.
Then it goes on to harassment.
Exactly. So I do think it's thrown a little bit of a wrench, but men are men. I don't think it's going to change. I don't think healthy courtship is going to be obsolete or should be obsolete. I have heard, you know, a lot of people are confused. Men or women. Men and women are confused. I have a good guy friend who told me that he is in New York for work a lot, and he says he holds the door for women, and a lot of women get angry at him, and he stopped doing it. He stopped holding the door for women.
And all he's trying to do is be nice. That's what it sounds like.
Yeah. And the woman said to him, more than one woman have said to him, I can open my own door. And, you know, so I think, and I personally and all my clients, we love when men are chivalrous. It's nice. It's just respectful, and it's nice.
Yeah.
So there's confusion out there, unfortunately, yes.
That's why you're here.
Yeah.
Clear things up. Well, Nutmeg Chatter Presents, a Claw's Corner will return with relationship coach Karenna Alexander right after this. Nutmeg Chatter Presents, the Claw's Corner is back. I am speaking with relationship coach Karenna Alexander. Karenna, glad to have you on the show. I'm learning a lot so far.
Thank you.
So tell me about Frumpy to Fabulous.
Oh, yeah, that's one of my fun courses. So Frumpy to Fabulous is all about the fun stuff that girls like to do. We basically go over your look from top to bottom, and I help women dress for men, essentially. A lot of women dress for women. They want to impress like their colleagues at work, their female colleagues. They want to show that they have good fashion sense.
Yeah.
You know, even their frenemies, they dress for their frenemies. They want a fancy $1,000 Gucci bag because they want to show that they can afford fashion. But you know what? Guys don't care about that kind of stuff. Yeah. Guys care about certain things, and I teach them what those things are in my Frumpy to Fabulous course. It's a lot of fun. I also send...
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but what I was going to say, for me personally, is that I can care less if it's a Gucci bag or a $5 bag from Walmart. But if she's attractive...
I love it.
That's all I care about.
I'm going to quote you on this.
Please, quote me.
I might make this a Facebook post.
So to me, I don't care what brand it is. You're not going to impress me because I don't know Gucci from Walmart. But if you look attractive, you have a great personality... Hi, my name is Rich.
I love it. I'm going to make this into a post on Facebook.
All right, so you were talking about, how you help women and men. How much does it cost for you to help them find love?
It varies. I understand that not everyone, can afford it, can afford a high-paying dating coach or a high-fee dating coach. So I have different fee structures and different ways of working with people. One of the least expensive ways is through a group coaching course I have, and that is about $150 to be in a group coaching experience with other women.
Okay.
It's $150 for 3 months, so that's probably the least expensive way. And then I have hourly rates, $249 an hour. I do have bundles, though, so if you buy 4 hours, you get a discount. And then I have mentorships that are $1,500.
Yeah, so what's the difference between an hourly session for $249 and a mentorship for $1,500? What would be the difference of what you teach them and how you teach them?
Right. So the mentorship, I would be with that person for 6 weeks, really in their corner for most of the 6 weeks, available to them electronically, kind of holding their hand throughout the whole 6 weeks. We'd have weekly check-ins through the phone. They'd have access to me via email, very prompt access. And they'd be able to take 2 of my courses. I have a variety of different courses, so I'd give them 2 courses that personalized for them.
You're like a surgeon. You're on call all the time.
Yeah, especially with the mentorships, because you know what, with dating, things kind of come up. Like if you're a business coach or another type of coach, you can do it during the work hours, 9 to 5, typically.
Yeah.
But with dating, sometimes it's a real emergency. Like sometimes on a Saturday night, something crazy will happen on a date and with someone. She'll have been with a guy for 7 months, and she thought he was going to propose soon.
Yeah. And
something weird happens, and she's devastated. So sometimes clients text me in the bathroom on Saturday nights, and I do the best I can to be on call. If it's something that's not an emergency and they text me on Saturday night, I won't reply. But if it's an emergency, like I know one girl was proposed to, but they had a fight right before she was going to get proposed to, and I was there for her. And it was
about bad timing.
I know, it was on a weekend too, so that was a tricky one, and I was there for her.
Basically, you're teaching everybody else about love, but you probably don't have time for love yourself.
Well, that's a good point. So I am recently single too. I've broken up with somebody who it didn't work out with, but even when we were together, sometimes I would sneak in the bathroom and try to sneak in the bathroom myself to try to check my emails from clients just to make sure that nobody was having any struggle.
Please, somebody text me. I need to get out of here.
Yeah.
Well, that's funny.
I know.
Maybe you should take your own class and find out.
Well, one thing about coaching, you really learn. You teach what you need to know, and what I've learned so much. So I'm kind of like 5 steps ahead of everyone else in terms of a lot of things, boundaries and self-esteem and understanding men, and even dressing for men, like the courses. So I teach them what I know, but it's funny, as I'm teaching, I also learn stuff. Sometimes when you teach things, you learn even more. You learn in a deeper layer.
Yeah.
In a deeper way.
I think the best learning experience is actually having it happen to you. Experience. So when you learn from, like we talked about in the past, learn from your past mistakes.
That's a good point. And, sometimes people will say that. They'll be like, well, you're not married right now. How can you be a good dating coach? I'm like, but you know what? So say I had married my high school sweetheart, which could have happened, and say we'd been married, 30 years and had a beautiful marriage. I could be a marriage coach perhaps, but I don't think I would be a good dating coach because I wouldn't have had any dating experience.
Exactly.
So I know how to get people into really good relationships through dating, and I teach courtship, which is something that's done while dating.
So where can men or women find you if they want to set up an appointment with you?
My website, KarennaAlexander.com.
That's Karenna. KarennaAlexander.com.
Exactly. So Karenna and then Alexander. So there are 2 A's in the middle there.
Okay. Well, Karenna, it was great talking to you. I have so many more things to talk to you about. Please come back on the show.
Sure. I'd love to. I know. I could talk about this forever. I love this.
This is like the first of many episodes of Nutmeg Chatter. That wraps up another episode of Nutmeg Chatter Presents The Claw's Corner. I want to thank my guest, Karenna Alexander, for coming on my show to help uncover the secrets to what most people are looking for, true love. I would also like to thank you, the listener, for tuning in every week. Enjoy your day, everyone.